On the occasion of the International Day of Yoga, we have with us a very special guest. We have with us Devi Mohanji, who is going to be, we are going to be conversing with her on yoga and its spiritual healing process. For those of you who do not know about Devi Mohanji, there is something that I want to share with you. She's someone who's born in former Yugoslavia. Devi Mohanji witnessed firsthand the terrible cost of war. A refugee at the tender age of 14, Devi spent the next 2 decades exploring the world and embracing a cosmopolitan outlook, living in Italy, living in the United States, and then several countries across the Middle East, India, and Serbia. As a survivor of war, Devi learned material detachment and a deep introspection at a very, very young age. After a near-death experience that ignited her inner transformation, Devi expanded her horizons through the international education enabled by scholarships and her sincere spiritual practice. In 2007, her spiritual pursuit deepened immeasurably when she met revered spiritual master Mohanji, who she married in 2010, forming a partnership with a higher purpose. Devi Mohanji serves as a global ambassador of Mohanji Foundation. She's a senior instructor of the Himalayan School of Traditional Yoga, and she's also the global president of the ACT Foundation, an internationally active charity. Now, as an international yoga instructor, Devi passionately promotes the true, authentic, and traditional form of yoga teaching by the ancient sages and masters as codified by Maharishi Patanjali. She is a master's degree in peace studies from the United States and has received various certifications in yoga. Now, one interesting fact about Devi Mohanji is that in 2008, she had the experience of playing a lead role in a movie which was called Forenchi Patlin. The movie made history in Marathi cinema as the most popular movie with a foreign actress in a leading role. She, in fact, received accolades and awards for this particular movie. Now, welcome to BW, Business World Healthcare and Business World Wellbeing, Devi Mohanji.
Thank you, Mr. Narula. Really nice intro. It's interesting to listen about yourself. It's a challenge to sum up my life. I'm 44 now, but I've lived a very intense life. I feel like more than 100 years old, to be honest, considering all the intense experiences, travels. But you have summed it up very nicely. Thank you.
So, my first question to you, Devi Mohanji, is that I know you have gone through a lot in your life. And it's easier said than done, when you say that, what happened in my life inspired me to be who I am. But what I really want to ask you is, what went inside of you? What thoughts, what emotions got triggered inside of you that led you to live the life that you are leading today?
Yes, well, you mentioned my near-death experience. I was defined, my track was defined by, the war experience, but I do not consider myself a victim of war. In fact, it was something that really put me on my spiritual path, and I'm really grateful on all my scars, on my experiences. In fact, I would like to share with you, I'm writing now my autobiography, and it's my aim to help people who have somewhere touched that frequency of victimhood or have maybe felt like a victim in their life of circumstances of pain, of trauma. Not only war, people can go through many other such experiences where they feel they're not able to come out, they're not able to shine their brightest light. So my aim is to reach out to them and to share through my direct experience, because I'm someone who believes in the power of bringing in that presence of highest energy when we invoke our experiences, and then we connect with gratitude back to that consciousness that brought us all these ups and downs, because they're all very meaningful. So during the near-death experience, I was sent back to my body. I was told, it's not your time yet. You have not fulfilled your mission. And your mission is to serve the unity. And then it's a very, general statement, serve the unity. So I was trying to really contemplate deeply on how is it that I want to serve unity, and my path led me to these amazing scholarships and stuff, led me to work in the United Nations and so forth, led me to exploration of international affairs and diplomacy, and that journey completely got a different twist when I was graced by a great yogi who met me astrally, and I didn't know who he was. And for years, I've been searching, I wanted to know whom I met and what was the purpose of this profound experience, because he gave me the experience of unity. He took me into a very expanded state that I still remember with every cell of my body, with the very core of my being. And when you enter into these really high ecstatic states, you cannot be the same anymore, because you realize that material life does not give you that essence of the experience. So then I was finishing my master's degree in America. I totally did not expect that to happen that very day. I was just on my way to toilet, passing by the bookshelf, and there was a vibration coming from the bookshelf. And then when I followed the ray of vibration that tickled my hand, I came across the book Autobiography of a Yogi. And I'm sure that many people in the world have been transformed by this book, because it's alive. It carries the kripa, the grace of Guru Tattva, the very Guru principle, and also the essence of yoga, because the greatest of all yogis, Mahatma Babaji, is mentioned there. And when I opened the book, it opened exactly on the image of his beautiful, youthful body and radiant presence. And then I read for the first time Mahavatar Babaji, and I recognized it was him, and I just cried, and I just got so excited, because when you search very strongly and you have nobody to ask, and you don't even feel like sharing your deepest intimate experience, and there's a part of you that really remains locked, and that pressure is very tough to deal with. So when I finally got the answer, I was overwhelmed. I was on top of the moon. And then reading that book, for me, was such an experience. It was like as if I was communing, It was not just reading. And in that book, I feel that Paramahansa Yogananda conveyed the essence of the unity that I am to serve, and yoga and the kriya, and the essence of having a living master in your life, and what that truly means. And I was totally transformed. It was like a 360-degree change. We had a career advisor. They appreciated my oratory skills. I was already invited to speak at some seminars, and they had some suggestions for my career in America. But I totally just, when you have a software change, that book just completely clicked with that astral travel experience. And I knew what my calling was, but I couldn't explain it to others. It sounded a bit like as if you're living in the clouds or you're fantasizing about something. But it touched the very core of my being. And at some point I traveled to Tamil Nadu. I've done that reading of the scrolls, the Nadi leaves. And it just confirmed what I already knew, that I had many, many lives in India. I've been studying the Shastras very sincerely. I went through a lot of tapas, did a lot of seva, social service. So that earned me the presence of a living master in this life. And it has earned me the grace that I'm experiencing now. I feel like crying. So yeah, it's been a tough journey. And when you are surrounded by people who don't understand it, it's tough to even talk about it. But when I came to Dubai, I met many people from India, and I've been to India many times. I think I've traveled more than 30, 40 times. I haven't counted, but whenever I had the opportunity, I traveled to India, and I keep traveling. Every year, at least twice I'm in India, because now, especially since my husband and my highest inspiration and my spiritual master Mohanji mainly in Bangalore, but he also travels a lot. I travel a lot. So we have a life that is completely global. And it's something that I asked for, something I wished for, because I never felt any little place could contain what I am and what I'm here to express. So this whole search has brought me to the path of yoga, and then I started going for different yoga teacher trainings and studies. And I have to say, yeah, definitely the essence of yoga is always in the presence, and Mohanji brought this key insight to me that really explained for me the essence of yoga. He said that we cannot become the universe until we first become the unit. And to become a compact unit of consciousness, you have to bring everything within, So, we follow the 8 limbs of yoga. You have to have a certain lifestyle. First of all, non-violence, that's like the core of the teaching. That's like the key rule. Non-violence at the level of thought, word, and action and intention. And to really start becoming empty and pure. And then go through your spiritual practices. So asanas, pranayama, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi later on. I've been blessed with several samadhi experiences so far, and they've been really amazing. At that time, I didn't know that's called samadhi. But surely the highest would be the permanent state, which I'm far from, but I've been blessed to have glimpses. So I have an idea of what it means. And whenever I do my practice, I invoke that special feeling back inside. So to become the unit of consciousness, yoga science is really given an enormous contribution to humanity, because only then, when you become a unit, you can expand in all directions. And this is exactly what I experienced in my near-death experience. When I went through that near-death, when I came out of my body, it was the expansion. When I met Babaji, it was that expansion, which is beyond words. It's like everything opens up, and in full circle, you expand. And you have this multi-point awareness, which is completely different than this beta state of conscious mind that we are in right now. And it's a very powerful state. And that's when you feel at home, So for me, home is the consciousness. Consciousness is the very home that we look for, and that deep, empty feeling that we all have, no matter whether we have the money and the pleasures of material life or not. There's always something missing. And it can never be replaced by anything but the living, vibrating consciousness, which is purest of love and brightness, brighter than the millionth sun, as it is said in the scriptures. So for me, yoga is a path and destination. And yoga science gives us first that firm base, sattvic energy base, from which you can start building yourself up so that you can withstand the higher frequency energy. Because I remember when I was in the presence of Babaji, at some point, I was not able to withstand. It became too intense, and Mohanji again speaks about this. He whenever he talks, I immediately remember that experience. He said that when the river comes closer to the ocean and is about to emerge, it tremors. There's that feeling before the merging, before that union, and you have to be ready for it. You need to be ready to completely renounce your ego identity, whatever you thought you were before, and to dissolve, and that maturity comes only through understanding, clarity of what that is, and sincere spiritual practice. You have to prepare yourself. If you have clogged nadis, the subtle meridians, with a lot of smoking, drinking, unhealthy food, unhealthy lifestyle, it's not going to happen that way. Our system has to be ready. So yoga is a proper science that really prepares us to go into that state of becoming a unit, and then the rest is divine grace, because certain parts you can do yourself, but the key aspect, I do believe, always happens by divine grace. So I hope I have conveyed that.
Yes. Now, Devi Mohanji, I know your speech at the Parliament of Religions became very, very popular. It was very well accepted.
Thank you.
But what kind of triggered when I was listening to that speech was a question that I really, really was wanting to ask you. That can you explain how being religious and being spiritual are different if they are. And
Yes.
does one need to have a religious orientation? I'm not talking of any specific religion, but do we need to have a religious orientation to be spiritual minded?
Yes. Okay. Well, you know, Mohanji has explained this to us very clearly. Before the soul enters the body, the Nanjaya Karma, it's that karma of the ancestors, travels first, and after we leave, it leaves the last. It's part of us. So let's say around 30% of our system is connecting with our ancestors. So it's not a coincidence where you were born. And on spiritual path, we should always honor the tradition we come from and the religion we were born in, and to really see the highest teachings in that and to have respect for that, because part of you is that. But then there's another side of you, which is the spiritual side, which is actually connection with yourself and your truth. That's what vibrates as yes, 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 at all 5 levels. It's like big yes. So sometimes if you're not fully aligned with the teachings of your parents, ancestors, and the religious frame you were born in, you have every right to explore, and it doesn't mean you're disrespectful. So religion gives us a certain frame, but spirituality goes hand in hand with that. So you can be religious and spiritual at the same time, and there is really no conflict, because spirituality is the essence, and becoming the unit of consciousness is again the matter of spirituality. So how much you connect with the essence of you within. So that's beyond all the masks, all the things you have to do because somebody said so, and it's beyond all boundaries and frameworks, right? So it is like drinking from the source. It is being completely naked between you and the divine in your own unique way, the way you relate to divine. So we all have our own way, something that vibes with us. And that's where I understood that in the tradition of Sanatana Dharma, they had so many different deities and options, because everybody has a different frequency and should be free to connect in their own way, So for me, spirituality is definitely experiential. It's respectful of all traditions. It's very bad to see that some people have a need to, highlight their own chosen path by putting somebody else down. I feel that every path, every religion has its very deep value, and it has its own saints. It has people who have achieved the highest following that path. But for me, the vision that explains it all, and I very often bring it into a modality called Awakening Yoga Nidra, which I teach online and in person, is like journey to the top of the mountain that represents the highest of consciousness. At the very top is beyond doing, it's just purest consciousness. It has many paths, and all these paths lead to one destination, because we all know there is only one God or one Parabrahma or one Allah, or whichever way you want to give it. So once we understand that the aim is the same, we should be respectful of different paths and different ways of getting there. So my path is of experiential spirituality, of yoga, and with Mohanji, I belong to a Datta tradition. One of my key experiences, even with this foreign Chipatlin you mentioned, was teachings of Shirdi Sai Baba, because I feel he was the first master who confused people. He was in dilapidated mosque, but then he would say Allah Malik, and then he would celebrate Diwali, and then people from different religions were coming to him because they felt that essence. They felt the presence, and they were able to move beyond the given boundaries and feel the very heart of who we all truly are. So that you can really feel the most in the presence of a living master, or where you come to a samadhi place of a saint. So we are all free to travel to different sacred temples, samadhi places, and connect with that consciousness. So it's all about the frequency of Guru Tattva. That is just like when you tune in your radio and you catch a certain signal, So from within, when we are open, when we don't have judgment, when we just come somewhere with humility and open heart, it just clicks, And for example, I went to the Samadhi of Hazrat Inayat Khan in Delhi, and immediately I felt it, And I recently in Netherlands met a woman who feels that she's a reincarnation of his daughter. And when I looked into her eyes, I felt that unique energy. I remember it, So it's difficult to explain this. I've had the blessing to have feel the presence of Mata Babaji, Shirdi Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Jesus, even Zoroaster. I remember in one of our meditations, just a different little change in frequency, but you just know it. It's a knowing from inside. So honoring really what every avatar, saint, realized master brought, what the living ones are bringing right now. It's a river that flows, and it's important to know that we will always have access to that consciousness and to the guidance when we have the right attitude, So it's important to have the right attitude. Also in yoga, I don't like to see when yoga teachers compete with one another and see it as, who is better. And we are all instruments of an ancient science of yoga. There should not be any competition, just humility and the flow. Then we really, really get there. So I hope I have answered the question. So I took it a bit wider.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, how can spirituality build a better world, right? And what role does yoga have to play in invoking spirituality among us humans?
Yes, I feel, with really wonderful intention of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, International Day of Yoga. Now, more and more countries around the world are taking moment to unite on that special day of 21st of June. And I'm really honored to give my contribution. We're going to have many events within Himalayan School of Traditional Yoga. And now around the world, more and more people are connecting with that celebration of consciousness and unity through yoga. I am someone who believes in communities. I feel that the time has come where we need to bring in conscious communities around the world because people have become very isolated and kind of fragmented with this urban technology-based lifestyle that brings a lot of scatteredness. So for me, the way back is back to the nature, back to grounded, mature approach to life through compassion, service, giving your unique contribution. And that's where spirituality comes as a essence. I feel that right now in the world, if we are not able to respect people of different color, race, religion, and all live in harmony within our chosen communities, we have not understood the blessing of this time. Because now with internet, we are all opening up. And the calling is to connect with that golden thread that connects all different traditions, religions, and be able to honor one another as expression of divine, and to really connect in the spirit of community. So you need to have a community that supports a chosen lifestyle. So let's say I don't eat meat, and if I travel to places and I don't have anyone who sells or cooks that food, I'm in trouble, because my lifestyle requires a community that supports that, So I've been to sometimes, especially in America, when I travel, there are points in time where I could only get French fries, there's just nothing to eat. And that's not really my choice of food. So, so it really kind of opens up your understanding that you need support, you need community. And especially when it comes to nurturing from childhood onwards, nurturing our own body, minds, intellect, spirit, ego, the whole system to be nurtured for higher consciousness, you need that support. So I feel right now, we are living in a time where conscious communities will be mushrooming and blossoming in different parts of the world. And also on our spiritual path with Mohanji, we are aiming now to build the centers of benevolence or centers of peace around the world, locations where those teachings and that kind of energy, frequency, and lifestyle will be nurtured, and people will be able to come there and live there, and or occasionally come there and feel that energy. So that's very important, but it's all connected with nature, and that's why the Datta tradition, Dattatreya teachings are always about nature. Nature is our greatest teacher. If we divorce ourselves from nature, we lose, you know. So in the science of yoga and Ayurveda, and overall very understanding of a sattvic lifestyle, the key is the connection with the nature. So that needs to be brought back now. I personally like everything in terms of healing, medicine, food, anything that is from nature and natural is what vibes with me. I have to say that.
Yeah, but you just spoke about sattvic lifestyle, and you also mentioned about the choice of food. Now, is it okay for people to consume meat, right? And if it is not, what is the science behind it?
I can only share from my experience. I used to eat meat. I grew up in the Balkan region, and it's kind of normal. And I was taught that without meat, you don't get protein, you know, and it's very healthy. But, you know, we need to be aware of what's happening on our planet right now. We need to understand the kind of violence and cruelty that, you know, we give as an experience to so many animals around the globe. So the meat that was eaten before, when you had an animal growing up in some village and then they kill it and they serve the meat, and the meat that we eat from the meat industry right now is a different ballgame. The same goes for the milk. You know, so you need to be aware of what you bring inside your body. There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of chemicals, there's a lot of cruelty in it, you know. So when you start connecting with prana, let's say do yoga, pranayama, you start becoming more and more subtle. At some point in time, your awareness expands. So you don't eat a piece of meat as just a piece of something. You need to be aware what is the story behind this piece of meat. So you cannot choose to turn the blind eye, because you will feel it in your body. You will become more sensitive, you know. So without any judgment, I would say that with time, at least vegetarian, if not vegan, lifestyle becomes normal to someone who goes deeper and deeper into connection with the self. Because at some point, you just cannot vibrate with that energy. You know, it is known that animals, before they're killed, they know they're being killed. And every being wants to live. You know, we are all here we came as souls in the body for the experience. And until the very last second, we treasure the experience of life. So nobody wants to be killed. And when the animals is approached for killing, it knows, it secretes different acids and chemicals into its body. That vibration of fear and agony and helplessness goes inside. So now there are many studies that are proving that people who eat meat have more anger, have more blockages inside. And key athletes and you know, like right now I can highlight Novak Djokovic, who is from my country and was until recently #1 in tennis. He said, like, my performance has improved when I stopped eating meat, when I started, you know, taking like spirulina, you know, waking up early in the morning, eating vegan food, understanding that connection with the breath. So it's becoming more and more popular, even among the key sports people and people who really need the muscle. They're proving that muscle is not about the meat. And also, if we want to save the water on our planet, I've just recently been to a conference about water for all, it's called, in The Hague. And one of the key points was also understanding that, you know, the meat industry also exhausts the water on planet Earth, because the amount of grains you give to the, especially the cows for the beef, you know, and when you look back, if you saved that, if these cows were not grown for slaughter, if there was just a normal amount of cows who lived a normal life, and all those grains were saved, we would have much more water, drinking water, so it all goes hand in hand with the balance in nature. Right now we are out of balance with and the meat industry has given a lot of contribution in that imbalance. So understanding what's going on the planet in terms of climate changes, in terms of scarcity of drinking water that is becoming more and more of our reality, about the cruelty of the meat and dairy industry. So when you put it all together, I feel that you are sooner or later coming to a plant-based diet. Now, it happens gradually. For me, I first dropped red meat, then I dropped the chicken and this white meat, then I dropped the shrimps and like the seafood stuff. Then only when I got into yoga, I stopped eating eggs. It took me a while with that. And the last was the milk, so it really went over. I've never suppressed my need for certain food. And right now, if I feel the smell of fried meat or something, I do not at all feel like, oh, I wish I could have. No, I do not wish it, So Mohanji also recommends this, that we should not suppress, we should follow our system. But just like when we are children and we are growing up and we see the toy that used to make us really happy, or a little, bike with those four-wheel bike, and now we are grown up and we don't need it anymore. It's the same with this, like you rise up in your frequency, and these things that used to mean something are no longer meaningful and no longer attract you. So the same should be with our diet. I feel that people should embrace a plant-based diet only when the energy and frequency brings them there. But watching certain movies like Earthlings, or understanding what's happening on a planet should be there at the intellect level to understand at least what's happening on a planet is important. And it also comes back to yamas and yamas of Patanjali and understanding ahimsa, because right now when we eat meat, we are not fully in ahimsa, especially when we understand how these poor animals are treated, So for me, ahimsa also means not eating meat.
I think that's a very beautifully explained, because when we can understand what happens in the mind of the animal that is being slaughtered, then you would know, or you could probably feel the pain and the emotions that get transformed from that animal to you when you're consuming meat. Thank you so much for explaining this. Devi Mohanji, can you explain what is spiritual yoga? How does it work? And is it different from the yoga as we understand in a layman's term?
Well, I just wanted to give a bit of background that in Himalayan school of traditional yoga, we really wanted to exactly bring that, as you call it, spiritual yoga, or actual essence of yoga, connect with it in the purest way, the way it was taught by the ancient sages of masters. Because right now, there's so many trends like, I don't know, booty yoga, naked yoga, things that really sell, because we know that everything that is sexy in terms of blood and sex and all this, it attracts the media, and most of the industries are profit-based and profit-run. And I do understand that. But, as yoga instructors and yoga practitioners, we should somewhere, first and foremost, connect with the essence of yoga and aim to really connect with the frequency of the masters who imparted it. It's just like when you rape a girl or you make love, the difference is because if you grab certain knowledge from yoga and then you adapt it and modify it and make it very profane, it's kind of, it's disappointing for me, to be honest. I don't like to see that trend. But I'm not judgmental. I mean, everybody should have their free will and do whatever they want. I just focus on what we do. What we do is that we always, at every beginning of yoga session, we chant that Yogena Chittasya. We invoke that grace of Patanjali and the entire lineage of masters who gave us this knowledge and from their expanded consciousness. And we aim to convey it the way it was meant to be, so that essence is not lost. So for that, we need a certain purity and humility. As I said, not be in the spirit of competition, and really do yoga with complete, bringing the awareness into different parts of the body, feeling where you have the tightness, breathe in there, and then as you go forward, also connect through pranayama. Then later on, soak in the effect of yoga through short yoga nidra or meditation. And then you come out in that full sattvic frequency and that sattvic nature, balanced, because if you just do yoga as an exercise, it's a pity, it's a pity to do it that way, and you can't really then call it yoga. Then it should be called some other name. So if you use the name yoga, you should aim to come to the greatness of yoga as it was meant to be. So Sanjay Sir was a golden medalist in yoga. In 2016, he connected with Mohanji, and he never had a guru. And at some program, he suddenly had a experience of Shiva, and he bowed down at Mohanji's feet, and he said, "There is only one wish I have. It is to, with my life, to serve the essence of yoga, the traditional yoga, the way it was meant to be by the masters and sages." And Mohanji said, "I give you the blessing. You start it. We can, instead of criticizing others, we can aim to live what we preach, and then inspire others." So that's how Himalayan school of traditional yoga came to be. And Sanjay Sir really inspired all of us. He was such a great yogi. He really lived and breathed yoga. And but he fulfilled this dream and set up HSTY, Himalayan School of Traditional Yoga. One morning on his bike, on his way to teach yoga, he had a car accident and he died. But for me, since I had a near-death experience, I know that it was his time, because he fulfilled what he came to do. So it's not sad at all. And he will always live. Through HSTY, he will always live, and we always honor him. And we carry the torch forward. So here we are doing our bit. Overall, I feel, you need to have the right balance. I do understand some people like to have good exercise in yoga, so you have different levels. You have introductory, beginner's level, intermediate, and advanced. And as you practice, we just shouldn't come up with our mind saying, I'm just going to modify this a little bit. I feel it would be better if I do this, because then you don't understand that the way yoga was made was not from the mind. It came from the purest of consciousness. There's a deep science between every asana and pranayama. And so if we change it around, twist it to have a unique selling point and make yourself unique, because this is what's popular in the West, we lose that essence, So on the contrary, we should aim to really study it deeply and go back to the original ones, So there are different scriptures that one can read, even from our path, the Tatreya Yoga Shastras and Goraksha Samhita and so forth. There are different scriptures, of course, Patanjali Yoga Sutras and so forth. So we need to aim to live that lifestyle and become more pure and empty. And especially, I feel the responsibilities on the yoga instructors, because if we are not able to bring in that presence and convey it through the way we speak and guide the yoga session through your voice, through your calmness, then they will not feel it as well. So the highest responsibility is on the yoga instructor, but it's also about spreading that knowledge in the right way and understanding that, if you just pump yourself up with yoga asanas and you don't have the spiritual aspect, the breath, the time to absorb the effect. I've seen people becoming even more rajasic, nervous, sexual, pumped up, That's not supposed to be the effect of yoga at all. So, you can't say, I practice yoga, and then you are like shouting, angry, you can't sleep at night. Something is wrong with your yoga practice. We have to understand that it is natural that when you come out of a yoga practice, first of all, you don't feel tired. You would have sweated and stuff, but there's no tiredness, because anabolic processes in the body have been enhanced, and you have that sattvic energy effect, which actually brings you into purna state. You feel so full, you just feel so relaxed and full and loving, And that effect then you carry throughout the day. So morning yoga practice is definitely the best. Sunrise time, so the entire science behind living a sattvic lifestyle, waking up early in the morning, not sleeping late at night, eating heavy food before sleep, then waking up all groggy late, that's not the lifestyle. So we need to be in sync with the nature, and we need to follow the teachings, and how they used, women in India would always have their stomach exposed to the sun, to absorb the vitamin D. I'm sorry to say, in the Middle East, I saw a lot of vitamin D deficiency because the women are completely covered up all the time. Now, I respect all paths, but I really feel that exposure to morning sun is so important. Surya Namaskar towards the rising sun, it's such a profound knowledge. You see how your hormonal balance comes, how your full distribution of energy through the main roundabouts or the chakras, the funnels of energy in our body, the etheric body, how it all aligns beautifully when you follow the practice as it was done in the ancient times. They really knew what they were doing. It wasn't a coincidence. So we need to understand it, follow it, honor it, and really do our best to live that truth.
Got it. Now, Devi Mohanji, one very interesting question, because I've seen a lot of videos both talking in favor of it and against it. In your opinion, can a human being self-heal themselves?
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, totally. I feel now what the new age teachings are showing, and what they are saying is actually the same that yoga science was saying for ages. So healing is nothing else but you being in alignment. So for example, I use homeopathy because homeopathy just brings you back to alignment, and it has no side effects. We have a system called Maitri, the Dhanamishra, which just strengthens the chakras, cleanses, and allows the system to go back in alignment and into self-healing. Because self-healing happens naturally when you expose yourself to prana, life force energy, when you don't have a lot of heaviness and guilt and stuff in your mind, when you empty your mind, and you simply connect with the energy and then be present within and allow the system, all the little things to fall back into their place, and you enter into alignment. So it's very simple. Exactly what Mohanji said, become the unit. So we need to, if we are not in alignment, we need to see what is it that brings us out. We need to examine our life, change those things that are bringing us out of alignment. Toxic relationships, maybe doing work that's not aligned with your values. We are very sensitive beings, and our conscience is like the guardian of our consciousness is your conscience. If your conscience is not cleared, if you have certain wrong choices and practices at the mental, emotional level, you're bringing yourself out. If you are being abused, you're in a toxic relationship, you're coming out of balance, and you have to understand that you have a free will and a choice to change your lifestyle so that you allow yourself to come into alignment. Now, if you're just present enough within, you can always bring yourself into alignment. You even any of the ailments can be healed in this way. So I'm trying to remember now. There's a man from the West, I forgot his name, who I listened to his story, how he broke his vertebrae in different places. He was like supposed to be invalid all his life, and then he kept just meditating and going within. He discovered 40 minutes, if you can spend time in that part of that broken bone and you just breathe there with just being present lovingly. Or I personally like to bring golden energy. I believe that for healing, golden energy is the frequency of purest love, and all saints have that beautiful golden aura, and golden energy is very powerful for self-healing. So if you have loving presence within, you go to those parts of the body, you just breathe there, bring the energy, but you spend time, let's say minimum 40 minutes, you will see that if you do this regularly, it just heals. And there's a lot of testimonials that we had with Maitri. What we do is just we bring energy, balancing energy into the chakras, cleanse the central axis, and with Mohanji's blessing, we also go to the causal layer or Karana Sharira and remove the seeds of painful impressions, which are not part of Prarabdha karma or the destiny aspect of karma. And then that lightness comes, and the person naturally comes into the mode of self-healing, And I've seen this happening now over the years. I've been practicing this. I really enjoy it. And I've seen so many cases of I never say I did it. I did nothing. I simply passed on the energy. But you brought the person into the mode of self-healing. And this is the key to understand that all we need to do is to find a way to come into the mode of self-healing. Let's say you sit outside by the tree and you lean on the tree and you just do vertical breathing. You inhale, you travel up the spine, you exhale, you go down the spine. Within 2 minutes or so, your own Kundalini and the Kundalini of the tree connect. This is my experience. You can give it a try. Grounding happens. The magnetism of earth pulls out negative energies. Now we are living in apartments. We are cut off from magnetism of Mother Earth. We are exposed to radiation from our gadgets and devices. So this practice is, I feel, right now the key for self-healing. People with depression, they always have a very heavy energy in the root. So if you have negative thoughts, you can't sleep, anxiety and all that, go outside in the nature, lean on a tree, close your eyes and keep breathing up and down your spine, connect, and at some point you will feel that something happens. I know a story of a man who had cancer and he did this. And he was sent back home to spend his last couple of days with the family. And he just sat by the tree and he was watching, some friends playing some bowling. He watched mothers, playing with their babies and children. He was out there in the nature, leaning on a tree. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he's not dying, So his healing from cancer happened in this way, simply sitting by the tree, So in India, you have this beautiful banyan tree. And in the ancient days, the Gurukul system was based on the shade of the banyan tree, leaning on a tree with that big, trunk. It's so powerful, So these are very simple ways where we can come into self-healing. And you can definitely follow the story of Anita Murjani. She's Indian who lived in Hong Kong, and she has healed herself from cancer, lymphoma at the last stage, within 7 days, simply through self-love and self-healing. Now I feel, in the modern day is the best example of self-healing. So her book, Dying to Be Me, is something I would recommend to anyone who is interested in self-healing, because it's in the end all about love, consciousness, acceptance, and the flow, and that again is also the essence of yoga,
So, Devi Mohanji, in a world which is filled with chaos, it is filled with everybody trying to compete with someone else. How can someone achieve the inner peace without giving up on their daily chores? Can people find peace within themselves within their daily struggles?
Yeah, definitely. Like we have even started during lockdown. Mohanji started the Early Birds Club. We wanted to inspire people, no matter what your lifestyle is, give it an extra hour in the morning, wake up early, because especially busy mothers, I know how it is, when if you wake up and you're immediately in the chaos, you feel so scattered, that morning time should be your time where nobody disturbs you, where you really connect with yourself. You choose your practices, I definitely, if you have, let's say 1 hour, I would recommend a little bit of warm-up, Surya Namaskar, some breathing like Kapalbhati, Bastrika, something really, lifts you up, and then calm yourself down and then do meditation, look at the rising sun, get that pure prana, and really like set intention for the day, vision of your highest expression. This is the time when you are with yourself. So if you do that in the morning, then definitely your whole day has a different vibe to it, and your whole life will change, So that morning time should be honored for its value, So it's important to go to sleep earlier, wake up early in the morning, try that lifestyle. Some people, one friend told me who is into astrology, I think Taurus, I don't know which sign, is like they are programmed to be night owls. So I'm not saying that you will never get there if you're if you're a night owl, but then during the day, determine a time when you do at least 1 hour for yourself and your meditation. Considering the speed on our planet right now, if you don't do that, you will be scattered and fragmented and lost, because the whole frequency of our planet is raising. Everything has become faster, and if you don't have that, pillar to lean on within yourself, you just get lost. You can get lost and become anxious and become too stressed. You're not able to. It's like a pressure cooker, So it's never been more important to do meditation every day, and yoga practice, or any practice one feels, maybe Tai Chi, or there are many other options out there. But find what suits you, do it, and make it a point not to miss it every day, at least for 1 hour. That's really my highest advice.
The next question is very, very important. It's very close to my heart. Because what has happened is, in the recent pandemic, there seems to be a situation where people have changed their perspective of life. There have been people who not only saw but experienced grief, they experienced sadness. You had people, despite being rich, famous, influential, they experienced helplessness. There were doctors who are experienced, they're skilled, they're knowledgeable, they experienced helplessness. There were people who were very social, they had close families, but they could not be with them when they needed the most. So do you think that human beings have transformed, become more aware, or was it just a temporary phase? They will get over it. Can yoga and its techniques help these people become more peaceful and in acceptance?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's all happening for a reason. The way, when we understand that there's always a reason behind our experiences, and it's the way we respond to them that makes the difference. We cannot control what happens around us, but we can control what our response will be. So if you give meaning to your experience, I learned this from Mohanji. A truck ran over his daughter when she was 4. He gave it the meaning. He set up a charity in her honor. He transformed his pain purpose. And all of us can do this. I've done this myself also. And same year when he lost Amu, I almost lost my life. And I decided I will not be a victim. I transformed that pain into my purpose. So this is the time when you see a lot of polarity. You see more and more people suffering, more and more people hungry. This is the time to do more service and to really use this challenges that are happening around us for our spiritual growth, because there's never been better time for that. It's stunning how much opportunity for spiritual growth we have right now. So all one needs to do is to understand that on one side, what we have is a lot of fear and greed spread through the media. During the lockdown, we've seen how that psychology of fear was being spread through the media. I was never in agreement with it. And at some point, I just switched off the TV, because you realize you have a choice to just not watch it, And more and more online media like this, where people have started sharing the experience and nurturing one another and connecting with the meaning and the purpose, So if you have money or don't have money, if you don't have any higher meaning and higher purpose in your life, if you're just eating, sleeping, drinking, at some point you will be depressed. Because we as human beings have come here for the experience, and we have come here to grow. We have come here to relieve ourselves from certain burdens and to rise up in consciousness and love. and to bring out that highest expression in us, so that's at the deepest level of the soul, this is what we long for. So this is the time when we can really look beyond what is happening into the opportunity that the time gives us. And this is an amazing opportunity. The speed of life has also brought us amazing connection. Just see what happened with the internet. Just see how our life has changed. How now certain things that would take us a long time can be very fast. Like you pay your bills, you click on your laptop and you pay it. You don't have to stand in the queue, or so it's kind of everything is speeding up. But you just need to know how to work through it and flow through it. Acceptance was one of the key teachings that I understood is really deeply rooted in India. People from India know acceptance, and that I really honor that. In the West, people are much more in resistance. You have expectations, they think you're disappointed, you resist, you fight. So the flow and acceptance is one of the key teachings, because really acceptance is the key in us being able to look beyond the obvious, embrace the experience, and just make the best out of it. So that's when we realize that the cards have been given to us, but how we play within the given cards is up to us. Let's make the best out of it, and let's turn to ourselves. I always say, have the practice that doesn't involve anything from the outer world. Some people say, oh, I have to have this, I don't know, ayahuasca, or I have to have this or that. Everything is fine, but you should be able to be relying on that, what is from within, not needing any substance or any element from the outside world for your own centeredness and your own growth, because you never know what life can bring. Maybe like me, you will be a refugee one day, you will lose your home and you will not have your favorite spot, your favorite food, your little this or that, so we need to learn that divine gave us everything we need from within. So just connecting with your breath, movement of the body, breath, stillness, from within. The essence of spirituality comes from within, and the true practices are those that do not create addiction to anything from the outside world. This is very important, and again, yoga science gives us that. When I became a yoga instructor in 2007, I came back to Dubai, and I realized my company went bankrupt, and I had debt on my credit card, and I went back to the scenario I had during refugee days, but now there was a difference. I had my knowledge of yoga, I had my yoga mat, and I said, okay, if I have no food, I will fast. If I have nowhere to sleep, I will be in shavasana on my yoga mat. Yoga gave me that acceptance. I understood somewhere that I had to go again. I had to face those fears again. I had to go through that scenario again, but now I was empowered. So this is my key message to you. If you practice yoga, number one, you will be empowered with that presence within, with your own breath, with your awareness. You will be empowered. The inner Agni, the inner fire will be strengthened, and the shocks of life can be faced much better, because when you have strong stomach chakra and the inner Agni is there, whatever hits you, you are facing it much better. So life is always going to give us some shocks, some traumas. It's just impossible to go through life and just have it all very comfortable. But it's how you build yourself from within to face it is what makes the difference. So definitely I would recommend yoga, especially now during the time of this health issues that we are having. I don't like to use the word pandemic, because I'm not sure it really was pandemic. So I like to say the crisis, the lockdowns, whatever it was on a planet that was happening, we have to rely on the tools we've been given by divine from within, and our immunity will definitely be there.
Got it. But yoga originated in India centuries ago,
Yes.
But it has traveled to the world. I want to understand, how has it developed in the modern day to be relatable so that people are imbibing this? I mean, you have everyone. I don't think there is any country which does not have a yoga instructor or people are not following yoga. So how has it become relatable in the modern day?
Yeah, I wanted to, when I did my studies of the history of yoga, and I was amazed to see that initially, in those scriptures, there was hardly any asanas. Maybe you had like Padmasana and Siddhasana, Sukhasana. There were all the asanas for sitting and meditation. So it's like, how can that be? In Patanjali Yoga Sutras also, there was no accent on the asanas, but now when you say yoga, everybody means asanas, the postures. It wasn't that. I wanted to say that in my research, I discovered that this whole shift towards the asanas happened after there was a teacher called great master Rama Mohan Brahmachari. He lived at Mansarovar Lake, and Krishnamacharya from South India traveled there, and he spent years being taught by Rama Mohan Brahmachari, who was fully in touch with the masters of Shambhala or the Gyanganj. Now, this is a topic, a very deep topic. I cannot talk about this superficially, but I have recorded, I must say, podcast. If you go Devi Mohan podcast, you just type that. It's free of cost, and I've intentionally done it in audio form so that you can close your eyes and listen and imbibe that. It talks about the masters of Shambhala or Gyanganj, where old traditions, the essence of all traditions and yogic traditions has been kept from the beginning of time. And this so-called Shambhala or Gyanganj is real. So we have been blessed to meet Avaduta Nadananda, who physically traveled there, and he has brought Mohanji to Shirdi, and Mohanji met Briguram Paramhamsa from Gyanganj, who materialized his body and came to Shirdi, met Mohanji. So we have had this direct experience. And I know from Avaduta Nadananda's autobiography, and I shared this in this podcast, that the essence of yoga has always been carried through consciousness. It wasn't through the scriptures. So that's how this Rama Mohan Brahmachari knew like 2,000 asanas, because I was not able to establish the link. Where did he get it from? Because I've been studying, I can see 80, there were 80 key asanas that were there, but now we have many more, where have they come from? So Krishnamacharya was the one who connected Ayurveda, yoga. He had that heart of yoga teachings and all that. And then from him, there were other teachings like who connected with him, Iyengar, then this Nirmala Devi in America. I can't remember who all of them. They all learned from him, and then it started becoming very popular, very fast. So that's where it just took off. As I said, the essence of yoga has always been something that was carried through the consciousness, and it's always going to be alive because there are masters at the subtle level who are guiding it, who are sharing it, and we as yoga instructors, we have to work on our purity and humility and open up to be in that presence from within so that our teaching becomes the essence of yoga. I feel this is very, very important. And anyone who feels connecting that energy and that purity and the practice can become a yoga instructor. So that responsibility for our own purity has to be taken so that we can be proper instruments of yoga. That's I feel is the highest calling right now. And in the world, we need yoga practice. People really need it for their well-being, centeredness, and self-healing, definitely.
Yeah. So you have been very passionately teaching Yog Nidra. I've seen on your website, you have these programs on what is Yog Nidra, and can you tell me something about it? How does it help?
Yeah. So Yoga Nidra is a beautiful modality, and I just simply, when I learned it, I understood just how profound it is, because alpha state of mind is very receptive, and it really takes you into, it's like you watch a 3D movie from inside, but it starts reprogramming you, so if you use it for the highest cause, meaning your own awakening, your own spiritual blossoming. Some people just do it, just kind of connect with the 5 elements, feel the peace within, and kind of that's it. I felt guided to take people through the connection with the essence of Guru Tattva, through gratitude, so there's a part of embracing your shadow, facing your fears, feel the pain in order to heal it, and then moving, like strip yourself naked, literally, and then move into the gratitude, go into the higher frequency energy. When we realize that when we open up in gratitude in the alpha state of mind, it's so powerful, because gratitude is the pot with which you receive the blessings, the grace. So when you're able to open up in that deep state, very deep reprogramming happens. You totally go into different energy, and it stays with you. When you come out of that state, it's not like you had a vision or a dream. It's very much alive. You own it, So you can really, really reprogram yourself. There are people who learned foreign languages in the alpha state of mind. There are so many, so this state of mind can be used for reprogramming and healing. And it's really something beautiful. I also recorded the short version, like 30 minutes. You can find it on YouTube. Short Yoga Nidra with Devi Mohan, where I put just that covering yourself with golden light, then chanting of mantras that are really empower you, like Mahamrityunjaya mantra helps you come out of the fear of death, Gayatri mantra, listening to the frequency of those mantras, and then just falling asleep. You actually that last thought before you fall asleep, if you use Yoga Nidra to extend the alpha state and then go into the sleep in that beautiful energy of gratitude, it's really, really good for you, because it said the last thought before your sleep and the last thought before your death are your key thoughts. Yeah.
What are the key teachings that you would like to share with us on account of International Yoga Day?
Okay, so the key teaching for me is work on yourself to develop the flow within, emptiness, acceptance, self-love. Work on removing the weight from your body. Work on taking responsibility for a better world by first taking responsibility for what happens in you. Empower yourself to respond, not react. Empower yourself to be to serve by your own example, inspire your children. Use the essence of yoga to become a better person. You use the ancient yogic teachings to really live the highest of the teachings of yoga, what Sage Patanjali conveyed beautifully in Yoga Sutras, because this life itself is such a gift, and we can attain that highest state of consciousness in this lifetime. So only in the ancient yoga science and Vedic teachings, they spoke about moksha. Moksha, liberation, is possible for all of us in this lifetime. But if we don't even have it on our horizon as a vision, as an idea that it's possible, we will think that this success is just to have more money and have a better car and a bigger house, or it's about proving yourself in the outer world. That's not it. So let us have our highest potential and our own liberation as the highest vision for this lifetime, and let us use the ancient science of yoga to become the unit and then the universe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Devi Mohanji. It is such a pleasure to have you with us on Business World Healthcare. What amazing way in which you've shared your experiences and the knowledge. I think it's going to be really, really useful for anyone who watches this. I really appreciate you taking your time for us. Namaskar.
Thank you. And thank you for taking time to personally interview me. I really appreciate that you have done research about me. I'm really honored, and you're doing a great job in business world, adding your contribution. I really honor your platform, and I'm happy to share this time and whatever little I know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste.